Welcome to Minority Focus. I'm your host, Jimmie Moore. This is the fifth segment of the story that we've been working on with a number of people about the awful murder of Jessica Currin back in the year 2000 over in Mayfield. So many questions still about it. Someone would say it's like searching for a needle in a haystack, which shouldn't be very much trouble if one or two people have magnets. And a couple of people have been holding those magnets and have attracted some needles. And the effort now is to get proper attention paid to what they found. For the fifth time, I think, John Poole is with us, who's the investigator on the case. And thank you very much, Dale Elliott, for coming back to the show. Of your own accord and on your own dime, if you will, from Louisville, Kentucky. Your input in this has been wonderful, and was very happy to appreciate your interest, your continued interest in it after all these years. Both Dale and John agree that one of the most important factors about this whole matter is the integrity of law enforcement, and they are two people who definitely allude to that, or make sure that goes on as best they can. I'll open up with you, John. I know you've been on it and about it forever and a day. Well, let me pause and mention too, in addition to the murder of Jessica, prayer is always for her people's continued recovery. You're never going to recover from a thing like that, but the strength of their continued efforts in recovery, and for the man whose son is now, for all practical purposes, dead to him, incarcerated in prison for life. And this is not with parole. You might get out in 10 years, 15, whatever, for life. I understand he has 2 life sentences for that crime, and very questionable that he needs to be where he is. Welcome, both of you. Glad to have you. What's new?
Well, and thanks for having us back, and I think you've done very well on telling the reason that we're back today, because both Dale and I believe in integrity in law enforcement, and we both have spent many years in that. And more important to both of us is to get justice for the Currin family. It's amazing. I've had to deal with this for 7 years, and Dale probably for 5, and the Currins have had to deal with this for 14 years. So, and you have to respect them. They're still searching for answers. Many people would just give up, but they haven't done that. So we're trying to help. And we want to bring to the program today something a little different, so the people that watch this, we have some audio visuals today, and I wanted to start off if they would present those, and then I'll make comments. Some of it's just verbiage, but certainly we have one of them that shows the picture of Mr. and Mrs. Currin and their daughter.
Excuse me, neglected to mention, and I'm very sorry, the name Quincy Jones, who was the incarcerated
Quincy Cross.
Quincy Cross.
Quincy Cross. Quincy Jones. Where'd that come from?
Well, you know, though, that happens because I've said that, because that was the TV show Quincy Jones.
Quincy's father is going to be a part of the show later, as will Tamara Caldwell and Joe Currin, along with David Cross. Wanted to make sure I mentioned Quincy too. Because you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, if you will, finding justice for the Currins, and at the same time increasing the possibility that Quincy might be released from prison one day. I'm sorry.
Oh. So if I could just get them to start showing the slides, and the first one that we could go through them briefly is to show Joe, a wife, and his daughter. And the state of Kentucky considers this case closed at some time. Other times when you're trying to get evidence from them or the public record, then they're not forthcoming because they say the case is still open. But as I said earlier, Jessica deserves true justice, and that's why we keep searching for this evidence.
Definitely.
On August 1st, 2000, members of the Mayfield Police Department and the State Police responded to the scene behind the Mayfield Middle School, and I believe somewhere in the proceedings the photo will show that. There was an extensive investigation, but unfortunately a lot of things were messed up at the very get-go. An inexperienced person was put in charge and everything went down from there. Lost evidence that would probably give us some answers. There was never an investigation into where that evidence went. My experience with police departments, if you lose evidence, they're going to be checking with you to see what happened. From the records, we can't find that ever happened. The next clip I have is a roster. In each major crime scene, you establish a roster, and that's to limit the number of people going in and out, and to identify who went in and out, and to make sure there's not too many in there that would jeopardize the crime scene. And one of the persons that got involved in this was an amateur detective, she says she is, and if you notice it says Susan Galbraith. And if you go through this case and what the state put their case together from, Susan was a good friend of the Jeremy Adams family, and he was one of the first accused. And her goal, stated goal, that was to exonerate Jeremy Adams. So she was able to get in the crime scene, her name is on there. She was able to get all the discovery evidence because the Adams family gave her that. So she was able to go out and interview witnesses with information that she had from the police files. And she went along with police interviews. She wanted to make a movie, write a book. So we have all those type things going on. We have the city police not doing things properly. We have her out and about doing things that would make the case harder to solve.
If they thought they initially had two people who were guilty of the crime,
yes,
and I understand the reason they let them go or dropped the case against them was because info wasn't turned over to the prosecutor or the defense in a timely manner or whatever. All these people that Susan Galbraith came up with, were they created? Did the police have no knowledge, no interest in any of those people?
Most of them, they were never even in the picture until she got involved. Some of them were in the picture before, but that's what happened with her stories. Then the people that she identified as the ones she posted it on the internet, who to investigate and so forth.
Adams was the first one they suspected at the time.
Yeah. And we should have a slide coming up. It will show the first arrest, and that's Jeremy Adams, who was the father of Jessica Currin's son,
right,
and Carlos Lolo Saxton, who was a boyfriend of hers, and Venetia Stubblefield. But again, all those charges were dismissed without prejudice because they didn't turn over exculpatory evidence.
When that happens, it doesn't matter if there's a gun with the accused's fingerprints on it, there's blood on the clothing, a photograph of them at the crime scene with an instrument raised or pistol pointed to shoot. Doesn't matter. If information isn't turned over to somebody in a timely manner, that person gets to go free.
Well, they dismissed the case, but a case can be dismissed two ways: with prejudice or without prejudice. If the judge had dismissed it with prejudice, it can never be brought back up. But they could have brought that case up about any time they wanted, but it changed. The state police took over the investigation. Susan Galbraith got more involved, and so then it went on the road towards these other people instead of the ones that were originally charged.
I don't know if you're finishing up, but we have about 5 minutes or so left to go in this segment, and I wanted to get Dale in on this just a bit. When you initially came down here with the Innocence Project, yes,
sir.
Innocence Project. I think I remember you saying that you looked at first glance at the case.
Right.
You thought, done deal, as a number of us did.
Right.
and thought, but later on you found out differently. All of these things that John's mentioning now, you found out later?
Right. When I first started working at the Kentucky Innocence Project, I was given, literally we had stacks of files of different cases, and just going through it from the top to the bottom, working through them. This is one of the cases that I received first, and I looked at the case, read what I had from the Commonwealth, and my first inclination was that this is, open shut case. There's nothing I can do here, and I put it aside. I started looking at other cases, and one of the cases that I looked at, I had to contact an attorney down here that was in Mayfield, and he said, this case, that one in particular, he's like, there's really not much you can do on that one. But he goes, if you really want a case, you need to look at the Jeff Burton and Quincy Cross, look at that case. And that's when I looked into that case, all three of those, and I went back into it, and I'm trying to figure out what is it that he's talking about, and then I started doing some deeper look into that case, and then I was like, oh wow, what we're seeing is the Commonwealth's evidence, and what I'm seeing on the crime scene pictures and the autopsy report, it's not making a lot of sense.
Once you started seeing these things and started getting into it, checking things out, and coming down here, did you find that support for your efforts waned?
Yeah.
The further you became familiar with the case? Yeah.
I mean, we were able to get discovery from the attorneys, the defense attorneys that were working on the cases. That was easy. I did several Freedom of Information Act requests to Kentucky State Police, and that's where we hit the wall. Even though the case has been adjudicated in court, KSP said that that they were still open cases because the sentences were not complete.
You said at KSP you hit a wall. Are you talking like figuratively, or I mean literally?
No, they
no more
sent
help?
letters back to me.
Is that right?
And
wow.
And I don't have those letters anymore, but the Innocence Project has those letters, and they said, well, they're still serving sentences, so the case is still open. So the case, like he was saying, the case is closed for some people, but the case is still open for others. And then that Susan King case up in Shelby County, Kentucky, in Shelbyville, is another case that is that way also. That it's still open case because they don't want to share what information. And that's the thing. I mean, the only thing I wanted to know, I didn't want to hold the evidence. I didn't want to hug the evidence or kiss the evidence or anything. I just wanted a list to know what was the evidence there, what was still there, because I was assigned with a DNA section, and the only thing that I was trying to find is there any evidence still in existence that has DNA testing capabilities? Right.
KSP, KBI,
right.
Innocence Project, Attorney General's office. We're talking about a trickling effect here, going either way as to the people who were sent to investigate the case, where their support element came from, where your support element came from, as to why you were not able to do what you needed to do, wanted to do, and needed to do. Am I doing anything sensible? I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about like our chain of command, basically of who my people are, I was with the Kentucky Innocence Project under the Department of Public Advocacy, and KSP, they're under their branch of the Justice Cabinet, but all of us are under one umbrella Justice Cabinet thing, and that does kind of, it could for people make a you know, make them feel uncomfortable with that situation.
Maybe
I see that.
before the end of the show, we can touch on that just a tad more.
Okay.
Because I understand it's very important.
Right.
We're going to take a short break here, and we'll come back shortly and talk. I'd like to talk with Tamara Caldwell. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back. We're doing another show about the Jessica Currin murder, Quincy Cross, wrongful incarceration, and there are any number of elements and people involved who were and were not guilty of what they were charged with. Two of those people are joining us on the show today, Tamara Caldwell and Jeffery Burton, who were both convicted of crimes in this matter, but were not guilty of those things, I understand. Briefly, Tamara, an insight as to what happened with you. What happened? How did you get into this?
I really don't know. My cousin, Victoria Caldwell, it put me in it. Supposedly, I done it because I pushed my grandmother down the steps. Yeah, I pushed her down the steps. That's what caused her to die, and I guess that's why she put me in it. I don't know. That's the only reason I've heard. That's what's been said. That she said. That's why she put me in it.
No association with anybody involved.
No association with anybody involved. I didn't know Quincy Cross until 2002.
2 years after.
2 years after the murder happened. I didn't know this man until 2002.
Never met him.
Never met him in my life. And I didn't know him until 2002, and somehow I'm in this murder.
Right. Jeffery. I got a feeling you're going to tell me something along the same lines somehow.
Yes, sir.
How'd you get into this?
Well, first, thanks for having us on here. My heart goes out to the Currin family, also to Quincy Cross, Tamara, and myself. I remember I'm working, and somebody gives me a call, and I think they're wanting their carpet cleaned. They're like, no, you need to get on the computer and look at this stuff. They've got your name all over the internet. So I'm at work, and all my co-workers around, I'm like, well, let's get on here and see what they're talking about. And the lady, Susan Galbraith, had this website, and it's just smearing my name everywhere. And I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, the whole thing was so crazy. So anyways, there was a number on there to contact the state police. So I actually, at work, tried to call them, like, because they're spreading rumors on my name that's just making my name bad, you know, and I didn't have nothing to do with this. Tamara, I went to high school with her. I quit high school in 1997. Right. I never hung around Tamara.
Wait a minute. Weren't you all romantically involved?
No, never.
Never?
Not one time.
Never.
No, sir.
I thought you were having a torrid love affair.
They've said all kinds of...
They said all kinds of stuff.
Quincy Cross, even to this day, even though he's my co-defendant, I still have not had a conversation with the guy. Never knew him, never met him, never hung around him. Venetia Stubblefield, I vaguely remember her from school, but we never hung around each other at all.
You all weren't at a meeting or a gathering that was called where Quincy threatened to kill anybody that told about it?
No, sir.
You're talking about where we were supposed to be. Everybody was supposed to be sitting at my house when we lived on Broadway, and everybody was supposed to be sitting in my living room. And Quincy was supposed to had the gun and sit on the table and threatened everybody if y'all talk.
Didn't happen.
Never happened. Never happened.
Honestly, Mr. Moore, from day one, when I first heard of this, everything I've heard has been a complete lie from the very beginning all the way to the end. I never hung around any of these people. I grew up in Mayfield. You can ask anybody that knows me down there. I never hung around with these people. Right. Even 7 years later, I've been out since March. I'm still baffled by it.
You both got 5 years.
Well, I ended up
I think I got 10. And I think he got 15, I believe.
Right. We both ended up taking Alford pleas.
Yeah, we both ended up taking Alford pleas.
Of course, I know you do now, but when the Alford plea was offered, you were familiar with that, and you knew exactly what you were doing, right?
No.
Do you know what an Alford plea was?
What I was told is you're not admitting that you've done anything wrong, you're maintaining your innocence, but there's a possibility they can convict you of it.
Right.
I did not know, though, that years down the road while I'm in the penitentiary, it's looked at as just a regular guilty plea. You know, anybody looks at it, they just see a guilty plea. They don't see all the other stuff that I was originally told along with it.
John, how'd they get that over on them? How did that happen? How did the Alford plea come so easily? Because they didn't understand what it was? No clear explanation given as to what it meant?
Well, the Alford plea occurs quite frequently, and Jeffery did a good job of explaining that. What I believe happened is both of them, from talking to them, and they can elaborate after I speak, they felt threatened, and they felt they could get a worse deal if they didn't take the Alford plea. And maybe a question you could ask both of them is something that, since I've been involved in investigating this, that people ask me, well, why did these two plead guilty if they didn't do it? So that maybe they could answer that.
Yeah, do you want to go first, Tamara?
Go ahead.
Well, I know myself, first being incarcerated for something I know is a complete lie. Did 21 months in jail. My other co-defendant, Quincy Cross, who's serving a life without parole right now, seeing that he went to trial and they gave him a life sentence without parole over something I know to be a lie, because we never were friends, we never hung out. Right. As I already said, I mean, the whole thing has been a lie. Right. To go from that to having your lawyers seem like they're all excited about going to trial, and then to come back to where they're really not prepping you for it, they're really not as gung-ho as they once were, to even telling you, look, they're offering you this deal, you really need to think about taking it. So I'm going from looking at the death penalty to life without parole to getting offered a plea where I'm not saying I'm guilty, where I'm maintaining my innocence, but I can get 10 to 20 years and only do at the least a year and a half more, to the most 5, 6, 7 years.
And they lead you to believe that if you take the plea, you're going to do a far lesser sentence than you would if a jury finds you guilty. Then you're probably going to get this.
Well, yeah, and I've already seen it. And already seen it.
But if you take this plea,
and honestly, this part here I'm about to tell you didn't really make a difference in it. But they came and told me that Tamara was going to testify against me, which that was a lie. And I think they told her the same thing, that I was going to testify against her. But I wasn't really concerned with that a whole lot, because I knew if she said something that would be a lie anyways. So just stack that lie on all the other ones I've already heard.
Right.
So it's really more of just a pressure from the lawyer, and especially seeing what happened with Quincy. But to me personally, if they really feel like I had something to do with this murder, why would you offer me 10 to 20 years where I can be out in just a few years? What happened to Jessica Currin is the most brutalest thing I've ever heard of happening to anybody.
Sure.
And don't nobody need to be free who's done that.
Exactly. When your lawyer advised you the same thing, to take
told me the same thing. That he even said that if I take the Alford plea, that I would be out, and I would go up for parole, and then I would be out in 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. He even went that far.
Wow.
They told me that James Gibson told me that if I took this plea, the Alford plea, that I would go up for parole, and that I would get it, and 6 months later that I would be home.
And if not, then life in prison.
This is what he told me, and if that didn't happen, if I didn't make parole, that I would be out in time to see my son graduate.
Which was a number of years.
Right.
After the fact. And at that time, neither of you had a clue.
I had no clue.
It was going to end up the way that it did. Playing the two of you against each other, they told you that he was going to give information that's going to burn you, and vice versa. And if we use this information that she's going to tell us about you, you're going to get a big time sentence.
In which I'd already told you, I haven't seen her since I was in high school.
Right.
So I knew that anything she was going to say would have been a lie anyway.
Same thing with you.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Of course,
So,
from what I understand, someone else told them that you all were involved somehow or had interactions with each other.
Something like
Someone
that.
else said this.
Yeah.
yeah.
And this became a part of the both of you being drawn into this
Now,
web of...
there's a lot that I still don't know. I'm learning more every day as I get to go over different statements that's been wrote, evidence that I've seen, that I'm seeing and stuff. But from what I understand, there's been 3 main girls that's lied on me. Venetia Stubblefield, Victoria Caldwell, and Rosie Christ. I've never been romantically involved with any of them. I never hung around any of them. I took a polygraph in 2007. I passed it. Then they started to go question the girls. Several of them admitted that they lied on me. Now, what I'm really trying to figure out now is why? Why? Why me? Why throw my name in this when I didn't have anything to do with this?
Right.
You know, Jessica Currin was murdered in 2000. Here it was 2007 when they come to me with any of this. And I mean, so I'm like totally blindsided by it all.
Right.
Yeah, me
And,
too.
And the people that are more likely to have been involved, it's like,
It's yeah.
you know, they're just gone.
I don't see how they can live with knowing that they ruined so many people's lives.
Evil people don't have a problem with that, love. And that's what we face a lot of times in society. It's simply, it's conscious. I don't know if that even gets in the picture. It's not about conscious. It's about people who are evil, because only evil people can do things like that. You know, cause so much destruction in other people's lives and could care less. I mean, that's what they do. And it's an unfortunate thing that the two of you got caught up in this. And what's happening now with Uncle John and the other people who are helping out in this matter is to answer some of the questions that you have. Long journey, long road. I mean, it's been 13 years, 14 years since it happened, and no answers yet. May well be 14 more. But as long as the two of you stay secure in the fact that, as he says, or as it's said about him, whatever's done in the dark will come to the light.
That's right.
And he'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. He's got your back.
That's right.
You know, as long as you're what he wants you to be. John, anything you want to add to this Alford thing, or the things that went on? I've got about a minute left.
Well, just real quick on the Alford plea is, I think that a lot of times that people don't understand that, far as the statistics go, if you take that, you're convicted. I mean, nobody knows the difference if you're going to look for a job. And then, just real quickly to repeat, Dale Elliott has interviewed all 3 of the ladies that testified against them. They've all said they were forced to lie by the police. We've reported that to the federal authorities, the state authorities, and nothing has been done.
Right. Well, like I said, all things in time. And times are rolling along. Thank you very much. We're going to take another short break, and we'll be back shortly with the parents of the beautiful murdered young girl and the young man for some years now wasting away in prison with no hope for freedom. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to this 5th showing of the about the Jessica Currin murder and the later incarceration of Quincy Cross for that murder. I think one of the most awful scenes that one can see is a child looking at its parents or parent through bars, and equally as difficult must be the parent having to look at the child through bars. Can't imagine. And at the same, when you lose a child, I don't know that you ever recover. Perhaps you get stronger and are able to go on better as years progress, but I would imagine it's a pain that never ever goes away, and we're fortunate to have with us again the parents of Jessica Currin and David Cross, who've joined forces, if you will, to find out the truth in both cases. Justice for Jessica and freedom for Quincy is the hopeful outcome of that. And it says an awful lot for the both. Welcome to both of you again.
Thank you.
And Dale's going to sit in with us, maybe to help clarify or add to or whatever. When you came down, Dale, I'll start with you. Were you able to contact both of them? Were you able to talk with both of them?
Yeah, eventually I was able to make contact with both parents. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And after that, when the powers that be became aware that you were talking with them and finding out some other things in the matter, and then not only was David concerned about his son's incarceration, but that Joe was not accepting in the matter either as to who did this. I know everybody just jumped in there with you and helped you and opened doors for you and made your going easy from then on out, I'm sure.
Well, that would have been nice, but no. Myself and Randy Wheeler, the attorney that I was working with, we made several trips down here trying to dig more information, get more information. Again, we received the Freedom of Information Act roadblocks, so we had to try to work around that. But you know, when you don't have a lot of help, you can't ever. And like I said, with being a DNA portion of that program, we were looking for evidence that would have been able to clearly say yes or no, or at least give us something to go on. We didn't get that.
I understand. Joe, when this came about, after it became known that you were not satisfied about how things had been handled and what have you, everybody step off you all of a sudden? Is this when you had to go do other things in other places with other people? I understand you led numerous protests in Frankfort, and you had to resort to that to get any further help in finding the truth.
Yes, this case started with the Mayfield Police, and then ended up with the Kentucky State Police, and we didn't get any satisfaction with what they were doing. The Mayfield Police was not really doing the job. I had talked with the Attorney General's office, the victims' advocates, and had gotten an opportunity to talk to the Attorney General, and eventually we managed to get the Kentucky Bureau of Investigation on the case. And I'm not sure that justice still was served because of what the first organization did. There's evidence lost, there's things that weren't uncovered, there's people that should have been talked to that wasn't, and there's no way that the people that they picked up for this crime could do those things. They had to be done by someone with legal powers and the knowledge of what to do.
Right. To date, how do you feel about what has progressed as far as the investigation is concerned? With what is it moving? Do you feel you're moving towards the truth? Is it happening for you? Are enough people, or the right people, getting on board to help you find that truth out?
We've got people on board, but we still have people that are fighting it, and we also have people that don't want to, cooperate at all, including the Attorney General's office. And these people are people that should want to see justice served. The last thing I wanted was the wrong people to be arrested. And I told the prosecutor from the start, David Hargrove, that I would rather wait longer and get the right people than to rush to justice and get someone that's innocent.
I understand.
And now I'm talking to the people that's coming out of prison and out of jail saying they're completely innocent. Right. And that's the last thing I wanted. I know how I would feel if I was arrested for something that I didn't do.
For sure. Can you clarify, if you will, Dale, this thing about the Attorney General's office and its function and how it has weeded itself into all of this?
Well, the problem that we were having was with the Attorney General's office. You got to realize during this time period that was going on, you had an Attorney General that was running for governor, and you had a Deputy Attorney General that was running for Attorney General. So politics of I got to get Western Kentucky, this section of Western Kentucky, happy so they'll vote for me and not be mad at me. I believe that had a lot to do with it. So, you know, a lot of things was rushed and ignored in order to just get the case taken care of, instead of like he said, waiting a little bit longer just to make sure that we've got the right people. You know, for me, if I had a good portion of me felt, from what I've learned, that Quincy and Jeffery and everybody that has been involved in this was guilty, right, I would not be giving this man any type of, I wouldn't be messing with him, right, trying to give him hope, right, or Mr. Cross or anybody, because it's, you know, it's not right. It's just not right. And I want this man to be able to see some type of closure to this.
For sure.
More than anything.
Politics in its rawest forms, would you say that?
Yes.
Yeah. How's Quincy?
Doing pretty good.
Doing pretty good?
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I know it's a relief that he's closer to you now than...
a little bit. It don't make it no easier though.
I'm sure.
Wow.
I'm sure. Anything in particular, Dave, you want to touch on that hasn't been touched on?
Well, to me, this was really an execution. That's exactly what it was, and it's just like Mr. Currin said. To me, it's a cover-up. It was just a cover-up and a sham of a trial that my son had to go through, and Mr. Burton and Miss Tamara over there, they saw what happened to my son, and they felt like that they didn't have no hope for justice. That's the reason why they took the Alford plea. That's exactly the way I see it. And as far as there's a number of things like evidence being lost, police not turning over evidence, the judge not making sure that the attorneys did what they supposed to do. I feel like that the attorneys that Quincy had, they let him down because there was evidence enough to vindicate him at the trial. But there was things done at the trial that to me was unlawful. And there was plenty done in this investigation that was unlawful, and I think people should have been prosecuted for it.
Enough went on in the trial to vindicate him now, if it could ever get back.
That's exactly right.
That's
exactly right, but nobody wants to hear it, especially the people down this way. They don't want to hear it. They know that there's evidence right here in front of us that could tell the story that, you know, these people that's been arrested, these people that's been incarcerated all these years, had nothing to do with this. Had nothing to do with this. It don't take a rocket scientist to know that, but that's the way I see it.
And I understand it, you know, just from what I've read. You know, I'm curious. I'm really curious as to how it all could have happened. I think one of the things that's a problem is that a lot of people who were involved in it, who caused it or whatever, haven't been called to task for it. Haven't even been approached about it. Haven't spoken or been spoken to about it.
Well, me and Mr. Currin want the same thing. He wants justice for his daughter, and I need justice for my son. That's the reason why we're together. today. And I know that the people seeing this is gonna think we are a couple, but it's not really. It's not really, because we want the same thing.
That's another saying. Politicians make strange bedfellows or something like that. So do people in your particular case. But it's good. It's wonderful that you both of like minds in what the finale of the whole situation is about. You speak often, Dave, of names that aren't mentioned for various reasons, for whatever reasons. If there were, or if there was, one name, I know there might be many, but if there was one name you think should be mentioned that hasn't, who would it be?
Well, it would be George Starks not doing his job, the Attorney General not doing his job, and Wise and O'Neill. Well, they came down here and arrested the wrong people, and they have no idea. Ronnie Lear, Sam Steger, and the one that did the autopsy.
These are all Mayfield people.
Well,
are those all Mayfield people?
Well, the one that did the autopsy, what's his name?
Dr. Levon.
Dr. Levon.
They brought him from somewhere else, no?
Yeah.
But everybody else was pretty much Mayfield.
Yeah.
But it's where it all originated, in Mayfield, with the Mayfield people before.
As you look at all the evidence, you know, there's a lot of wrongdoing in this case, a whole lot of wrongdoing in this case, and they need to be prosecuted.
I'm hoping that this show adds to the results, a culmination of any number of areas that are focused on it, haven't given up on it, haven't stopped associating with it yet.
Well, like I said, me and Mr. Currin is in this together. And hopefully we can find out exactly what happened to his daughter and clear my son's name. And Mr. Burton and Tamara.
And so many positive things can happen when that happens.
That's exactly right. That's all we're looking for.
Right now they're ex-convicts. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
But that can be absolutely removed.
Yes.
Can be, if things go the way they're going now, and they are going. They are going. I've spoken to a number of people who told me they've paid attention to the show and are paying more and more attention to it, especially as we do more shows, you know, and what have you. People in Louisville are taking note of the show. Thanks so much, you know, for your coming down. How much time do we have? 3 minutes, okay. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. I've spoken with a couple of people, and I've told them that, you know, what little I know about it, if I get up in the morning and I think about this, it gives me a headache. And I have to make myself stop thinking about it. God bless you all in what you're having to deal with. David says often, you have no idea. And I'm sure you would say to you have no idea if you haven't experienced it.
That's right.
You know, it's got to be I mean, I remember talking to my 6-year-old son when he was 6 years old about a weapon in the house. And the only way that I could think to make him understand how serious the matter was that he not touch it was to tell him, if you mess with this, it will kill you. And if you die, I will die. Yeah. And when I told him that, I cried just thinking about it.
Yeah. So
I can sympathize so greatly with both of you. God bless you is about all I can say. Okay, we're about at the end of the program. Thanks.
Can I say one more thing real quick?
Pardon?
Can I say one more thing real quick?
Sure.
You said it earlier. What happens in the dark will come to the light. I believe that with all my heart. Also, I know that God hates those who spill innocent blood.
Yes, he does.
It's written. And anybody that had anything to do with this, the cover up and the murder, God hates what they done.
You betcha.
And it would be better if they came out and admitted it, get to the truth, and we can get some answers.
Rather than face what God's going to put up.
Because it'll follow you not only through this life, but into the next.
Exactly. Very well put. Very well put. Thank you so much.
And we've contacted several organizations that we think is going to get on board with us.
Great, wonderful. And we'll be about them perhaps in future shows.
All right.
We'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back. Both John and Dale have spoken of the integrity of law enforcement. In marked contrast is, in some cases, I don't want to say absolute stupidity, but gross misconduct, if you will, and how some people handle things. John has a number of things he wants to share with you in the way of things he has to say, and some video clips that he'd like to share that totally show you what we're talking about.
Thank you, Jimmy, and I'll ask them to run the first clip, and that's of Robert O'Neill, that was one of the KBI agents who had never, as records we can find, never investigated a murder in his life. But if you watch, this video kind of questions his integrity in court, because if you watch the time frame down below, he has a real memory problem in a short time, so you wonder about his investigative skills. So if they could run that.
Did she, from that point forward, cooperate with you all? Cooperate with the Kentucky Bureau of Investigation and the State Police?
Victoria cooperated. However, she had some problems in that based on the time frame that this crime happened. Her memory was somewhat fuzzy. She also was her inability to recall certain events. It took some time to make her abreast of incidents that happened.
You used the phrase in describing how you questioned Victoria that you, quote, made her abreast of the incidents. What do you mean by that, unquote?
I don't recall making that statement, sir. If you want to show me a transcript where I made that statement.
You just said it here. I don't have the transcript done yet. It might take a few hours.
I don't recall saying making her abreast of.
Okay, if somebody said that you said you made her abreast of incidents, what would that mean? What is your understanding of the phrase made her abreast of incidents? I
cannot respond to that question, sir, because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, let's just discuss the words. What did the words make her abreast of incidents mean?
I can't respond to that because I have no idea what you're referring to.
I'm referring to testimony, but you're
and I don't recall making that statement.
And that's exactly what we're talking about, that the type of people that went about investigating this, because we've heard from the different people that were interviewed that the KBI agents made them abreast of what to say. And that's what they all say. They were forced to say these things that weren't true. And this kind of demonstrates what was going on.
Just in case people didn't understand that, quite get it, can you run that down right quick as to what just happened there?
Well, as you can see in the video, he said abreast, and then a few seconds later, when they asked him about him saying abreast, he forgot that he just said that a few seconds earlier. And yes, this is consistent with every person that they put on the stand to witness for the Commonwealth I've talked to, and all of them has said that I was forced to say that. They told me what to say, all the way down to the diary that only had pages that related to the crime. There was no other part of the diary. There is no other diary, just those pages.
Right.
That's it.
We kept her abreast of it. What do you mean by abreast? I don't recall saying that. Let me read it for you. Well, again, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. 30 seconds?
They were spoon feeding the witnesses what they were supposed to say the whole time. And one particular witness told me that her exact words is, they paid me $100, and she said, at that time I was a drug addict, and you give me $100 and I will tell you anything you want me to tell you.
What have we got, John?
And the next one, if this video were played in the Quincy Cross trial, I believe that Quincy Cross would have been acquitted. We gave a copy of this video that we're about to play to Quincy Cross, one of his attorneys, Vince Eustace, and Vince would never play it because he said they didn't have a DVD player in the courtroom and he was going to do it later. But this is one of the witnesses that claims that she had sex with Jeffrey Burton and said the other things that she claims the KBI and state police had her say. And this is what we wanted played in Quincy Cross's trial. So if they would cue that up, this is Rosie Christ. They later prosecuted her when she did tell the truth at the Cross trial. They prosecuted her for perjury. So, and here this one goes.
Normally two lovers would say to each other.
I'd be like, hey, Joe, how you, you know, but no, I said, didn't I know you could?
But nothing, never at the Royal Inn.
No.
Never a confession from him.
No.
And the KBI got you to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Did they offer you any money?
No. They won't offer me no money. I don't want that money anyway.
But they did offer to. They did offer to take you. What would you say to Jeff? What would you say to Jeff Burton right now?
I'd probably tell Jeff Burton, you know, sorry, but I mean, I don't know, because I mean, I hope you get out. I mean, I hope you get out of it. I swear to God, but I know when I go to court, you know what I'm saying. I mean, I know once I'm on that stand, you know, I can't lie. And I don't care what Leah and Bob say. I mean, I can't lie. You know what I mean?
Never had sex with him. Never talked about the crime with him.
I mean, I can't lie once I'm saying. I told Leah and Bob.
And why that is so powerful, if Vince Eustace had used this to impeach her when she testified for the prosecution, it would have had a powerful effect. He didn't do that. And so why he didn't, he's passed away, we'll never know.
Right. Quincy was never able to, in his appeal process, never say that his representation was inadequate or false or bad or anything of the sort. I've heard people do that. You know, say, I needed to come to trial because my attorney was a nut. I'm not saying that about Vince.
Well, Mr. Eustace, and it's on the record, was sick during this. In fact, the judge even asked him, are you capable of going on? And he said he was. And I talked to him because we had done research and tried to help him, and he didn't want any help.
We've got about 5 minutes to go, John.
Okay, let's do the next one. One of the key witnesses, and Dale has talked to her, is Victoria Caldwell, and we'll play this videotape, and it shows how a juror could feel that she's given the truth, because she lies and she lies and she lies. So why would they believe the story that she told in the courtroom that day? So we'll play that one.
And that Quincy threw the gas on her and Venetia threw the match on her. Is that all a lie?
Yes.
Okay.
Straight up. I mean,
okay. And then let's play the next one, because it even shows more lying.
You've lied and you've lied and you've lied, haven't you?
Yes.
You've admitted to lying to the Mayfield Police.
Yes.
You've admitted lying to the KSP.
Yes.
You've admitted lying to the Attorney General.
Yes.
You've admitted lying to the KBI.
Yes.
What judge listens to this sort of thing and ignores it? Why didn't that get anywhere? That in itself seems like would have vindicated somebody who's been accused. I lied about the guy, lied on the guy.
It's chilling.
It is chilling. Of course, the state story is that she lied because she was afraid of Quincy Cross, and that intimidated her to lie. Quincy Cross was in jail. Why was she afraid of him then?
For sure.
But she lied anyway.
For sure. It seems I think it's fairly common knowledge that in all things that are good on earth, there are bad elements. Mm-hmm. So even in law enforcement, the integrity of law enforcement is tarnished at times and seen in a bad light. Are measures being taken or put in place or in effect to weed out some of that?
I think the worst thing that could have in law enforcement is politicians in control, because they're more concerned about their votes and getting reelected or getting elected to a different office than they are in making sure that the law enforcement is doing their job. And when you have that, then you'll have one person that's more concerned about themselves than the case, than the victim, or than the people who were wrongfully convicted. Right. That's my point, my view.
It's improbable, but not impossible, that some of those people from Mayfield on up to whatever people up there, it's not impossible that someday those people may be called to task for some of this. It's possible, but it'll mean people like yourselves that continue and don't stop. Then some of those people are not ever going to be.
Well, I think the only way that it's ever going to be resolved, and what the Currin family and others have asked for, in fact, he's spent a lot of time in the last year, Mr. Currin has, trying to get information from the Attorney General's office, and he's just had, you know, one blank after the other. They gave him information that was so redacted that you couldn't even tell what it was about. And so that's a problem he has. But what I think with Mr. Currin, and I know our family and the others, we're asking for a federal investigation into this. We believe civil rights have been violated. And the only way you're ever going to get to the bottom of this is for the FBI out of this area, because we have given information to the FBI in Bowling Green. We met with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Louisville. Dale was there on that. We've talked to Assistant Attorney General, U.S. Attorney, I'm sorry. And so everything was going to move on and do something. All of a sudden, they don't return calls. Nothing happens.
We're about to lose time here. Thanks to everyone that came today, especially you, Dale.
Yes, sir.
God bless you for your continuing in this matter. Out of the system, out of the program, out of the whatever you were, and yet you still are about helping out in this matter. And I know everybody appreciates you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. For Minority Focus, I'm Jimmie Moore.